I described in an earlier video how a classroom of developers was able to write a log viewer in 2 hours. This is that log viewer today, and it can open any of the file formats that Plot Studio and Data Studio can open, and it can make all of the same deliverables that Plot Studio and Data Studio can deliver. And I know what you're thinking, why in the hell would we want to write another log viewer in a company that's already got at least 12 log viewers? And well, the answer is, of course, we were doing it as an exercise to train other developers. But it turns out we've made good use of deliverable gen. If from a command line, I can control it through its command parameters. If I type in help here, you'll see that it's got a fairly sophisticated set of parameters that can be passed to it. And in Data Studio, when we go to create a deliverable, we're not just creating one deliverable, we're creating several deliverables listed over here. And each one of these can create a DLIS, a LAS, and a PDF or a CGM all at the same time. If you look at the Process Explorer, I'm recording a video right now, and you'll see that a lot of CPU time is being used in the Process Explorer. This is Data Studio here, and it's idle. But if I bring this system information in and look at the CPU time, you can see that it's using up, roughly 15% of the CPU just for recording the video. I'm going to bring this back up in a moment. To deliver all of our deliverables, the field engineer presses the deliver button. And you'll see it starts a whole series of events going down here. But if we go back and look at the Process Explorer, what you see is going on is that it's creating processes, and each one of these is getting one of these command lines telling it which deliverable to work on. And if you go back to here and look at the project settings, you'll see there's a CPU usage parameter that we have set to 50, so that it's only using 50% of the CPU time at any given point. And you can see that it's launching different processes, and they are only using the amount of it only launches a new process when the total CPU time falls below that 50%, and that can be changed on the fly. And if we look at the code that's involved in making all this work, it's an amazingly simple. This is the development system here, and move this out of the way. This is the document. This is where documents are open. That's all of the code required to open any of the data types that we support. Over here you're looking at the view. This is the code that's required to draw to the screen, and this is the code that's required to print to a PDF, a CGM, a TIFF, print to a printer, all of that, because there's one interface called in these visual components that allows us to do that. There's a test harness that can illustrate that pretty effectively. All of these are different graphical components. They're called smart components because they depend on that interface that the opening the document created, and they go pull the information they need. So right now the test is set for 0. If I compile this and run it, it'll just draw the scale component of the same project that we're looking at. I can tell it to rotate that. I can hold down the control and zoom in on it. It does all of the hit testing. I can pan anywhere in it. If I take and change this test from 0 to tool sketch, which is 3, it'll read, oops, yeah, that's correct. If I change it to 3 and then compile that and run it, that component, another smart component, goes out and reads whatever tables it needs to assemble the tool sketch. Again, I can zoom in on this. I can rotate it. Hit test. It doesn't matter how I pan, zoom, or rotate, the visual objects do all of the hit testing logic for the application. That's what allows Plot Studio to be so interactive with the help and all of the panels. There's a composite called log elements DLL, and that's what the draw and the print routines were calling. They were calling into it. And what log elements does is it assembles all of these components into one stream of information. So the application doesn't need to know how to assemble the information together. If I change the test case to be 6, then we will create this log elements composite. In the meantime, our CPU usage is pretty minimal at this point. This looks surprisingly like deliverable gen. If I rotate it and zoom in on it, hit testing, pan, zoom, rotate, it doesn't matter. The visual objects provide the application with the component object in memory that was just clicked on. Cancel this out and just go look at real quickly. This is all the raw data that was delivered to this project as a DLIS file. And it wasn't Data Studio that generated these deliverables. It was Deliverable Gen, a program that was written by students in 2 hours. And that's the DLIS that Deliverable Gen created.